Hey everybody, David Lee here, Texas Horns Football. Welcome back to another video on our 2019 Longhorns position by position breakdowns and previews. So we're looking at every position, projected starters, key reserves, kind of what we think about it. Definitely want to know what your projected starters are for each position, so don't forget to drop them in the comments. Let us know what you're looking forward to, most excited about, most concerned about in the comments, and definitely love to hear from you. Don't just let me talk. So today we're looking at the DBs, getting back on over to defense. The defensive backs, absolutely, I think, the most loaded position on the team, top to bottom. Probably the position that I have the most confidence in, top to bottom. Again, from a senior starter like Brandon Jones all the way down to some of these incoming freshmen. So we're going to try to look at as many as we can, but we got a lot of names to kind of go through, and then we'll look at kind of what some of these returning guys did last year in terms of an impact. Just kind of overall thought I think about this group is that I think we're going to see a lot of rotation, a lot of guys, just getting sharing time, things like that, which is going to be great. I think the strength of this group are obviously the safeties, both returning. So let's look at who's returning and then the reserves that likely are going to be kind of worked in there. Definitely, I think looking at the two returning starting safeties, you've got senior Brandon Jones up there leading the group. Also looking at who was lost from this group, Chris Boyd, NFL draft pick to the Vikings, is gone at cornerback. And then we've got PJ Locke, who's gone. He's now with the Steelers. And, PJ Locke pretty much played that nickel position. And then we've got Devontae Davis gone as well. So, but returning, Brandon Jones, the senior at safety, and then Caden Stearns, the true sophomore who started last year as a true freshman and maybe made a bigger impact overall than anybody in the group. And then projecting the two cornerbacks, not an easy spot to project who's going to be starting at cornerback, but like I said, obviously going to be rotating these guys. Jalen Green, true sophomore, and then looking at Anthony Cook, another true sophomore, both who had some playing time last year. Anthony Cook with more playing time than Jalen Green, but a lot of expectations for these guys from that huge 2018 recruiting class that brought in just so much talent in the defensive backs. And then we're looking at this starting defense throwing out 5 DBs. So looking at BJ Foster taking that Nickelback position, that sort of, third corner / safety. Also wouldn't be surprised to see BJ Foster play more that safety position. He's a bigger hitter than Caden Stearns, I think. Brandon Jones is absolutely an attacker. He's kind of an all-around DB, can play cornerback, I think, some too, and match up one-on-one with some receivers. But what we saw from BJ Foster last year, I think he's more of a hitter. He's more of a run stuffer, less of a cover defensive back. So those are my projected starters. And then looking at the key reserves, again, more true sophomores. Kobe Boyce definitely could fly in there at cornerback as well. Don't forget about Chris Brown. He hasn't necessarily lived up to his recruiting hype or his high school career, but I still think we'll definitely see his name. And then Deshaun Jameson, sophomore, Josh Thompson, junior, and Demarvion Overshone, another sophomore. So, only one senior among this group, which is Brandon Jones. Obviously lost seniors from the group last year, but I don't see this group taking a step back at all. In fact, I'm looking at these guys, to really take a step up just in terms of pass coverage in the Big 12, which is super crazy important. at Big 12 Media Days, I asked Brandon Jones what's the most difficult thing about covering these Big 12 offenses that are so explosive and so much focused on the passing game. And he said just keeping up with the tempo. The fast-paced tempo, he just said, can be really tough for a defense that is trying to adjust to what the offense is doing, whether that's, figuring out how to, defend them on the fly within a drive, or not being able to kind of switch guys out. So he just said the hardest part has been just defending that up-tempo offense, which makes a lot of sense. So those are kind of my projected starters. Definitely drop the comments on who you know. Obviously, we've got what 10 names here among the DBs, and we didn't even mention any of the incoming freshmen. Obviously, Todd Orlando is not shy about playing freshmen, because we did see Anthony Cook play last year. We saw Caden Stearns and B.J. Foster play a ton. We saw Kobe Boyce in there a little bit, and also a little bit of Jalen Green. But, I would expect most of the freshmen to redshirt. But still wouldn't be surprised if some got in there. So take a look at the freshmen. I wanted to break these guys out in their own group, mainly just because I couldn't fit them on the other image. So pretty much four guys, 3 4-star guys. This is using the Rivals.com rankings. Tyler Owens was the highest rated recruit. He projects to be a safety. I believe Rivals had him as the number 6 safety in the country. He's from Plano. And then the 2 out-of-state guys, Chris Adamora and then Kenyatta Watson from Georgia, and then Marquise Caldwell. So pretty much 2 safeties, 2 corners. Like I said, 3 4-star guys, 1 3-star guy. With the position being so loaded, I think it's going to be tough for these guys to get in and make an impact unless there's some injuries. So I would expect most of these guys to get a red shirt. If I had to pick one guy that I think might get the most playing time, might make the most impact among the incoming freshmen, I would probably go with Tyler Owens. From what I've read and seen, he seems to be the most ready to step in and make an impact. But if he does, project, if they do keep him at the safety position, I also think that position, those 2 safety spots, are the most locked up with Brandon Jones and Caden Stearns. We know Brandon Jones is going to be back there and be the leader and probably play all the snaps. And then obviously we saw what Caden Stearns can do from that position last year, just stepping up and starting right away and really immediately also being a leader as a true freshman, which is incredibly rare to see. And so the other thing that I wanted to look at was just some of the stats from last year. Wanted to kind of look at, since this is such a deep group, I thought it might help just to kind of see the tackles, the passes defended, interceptions from last year. So, this is just kind of overall defense from last year, but obviously, losing P.J. Locke with 77 tackles, definitely makes an impact. That passes defended is over there on that far right column. And then going down, Brandon Jones, 3rd or 4th on the team in total tackles with 70, so that's coming back, which is huge. Brandon Jones, I think, is more that guy who's just going to be kind of like a heat-seeking missile. Whenever a pass is completed, he seems to be a guy who's always right there. And then Caden Stearns right behind him, number 5, 62 total tackles last year. Obviously, he had those 4 big interceptions, and then 4 passes defended. He had 1 sack and 3 tackles for loss. So they're not afraid to use Caden Stearns to kind of come up there and make an impact. Maybe even sometimes lining up one-on-one against a guy if a team is going maybe 4 receivers or something like that, if he needs to do that as a safety. And then, Chris Boyd, for as frustrating as he was, I think, for Texas fans, I also think he pretty much lined up against each team's number one receiver nearly every week. So we lose his 15 passes defended. Didn't have an interception last year, but 54 tackles. And then again, BJ Foster as a true freshman last year, 46 total tackles, 5 passes defended, and he's just a big hitter. He's really, really fun to watch. He's not as tall, as a lot of these other guys, but man, his playing style and his attitude reminds me a lot of Quentin Jammer. He would just lay guys out. Quentin Jammer, obviously more of a traditional cornerback, than Foster. But I guess it is cool to see among the top 7 leading tacklers from last year's team, 3 of them return. Brandon Jones, Caden Stearns, BJ Foster. So that's pretty cool to see. And then if you go down near the bottom of the list, Kobe Boyce, number 14, he returns. He's bringing 23 total tackles from last year. And then Anthony Cook at number 17, and then Chris Brown. I kind of cut it off there. But anyway, overall thoughts again, super loaded group. I would be more confident in this overall defense if the group that was more loaded was closer to the line of scrimmage. I would rather see more depth at the defensive line and linebackers, but there's absolutely no doubt that this group is incredibly talented and just unbelievably deep. Sometimes us as fans, if we don't see a guy play a lot, we're wondering, well, is he not that good? It's just that it's so deep that it's going to be hard to get a lot of these guys enough snaps to where they really pop out at you and make an impact. So again, I think it's probably the best defensive back group in the Big 12. So it's going to be interesting to see how we fare, up against, when we face those big offenses like Oklahoma. The defense got in a shootout last year against Oklahoma, against West Virginia, and at times against Oklahoma State. Two of those were losses, but it's fun to watch. But I would rather see the D line and the linebackers shut these guys down. So those are my thoughts, my projected starters. Give the video a like, definitely share it out, leave your comments, let us know what you're thinking. Definitely check us out on our Facebook page, Texas Horns Football. We got more than 50,000 Texas fans there. Come chat with us, get on our live videos. We interview some players on there from time to time. So come check us out, and we appreciate it. I'll see you on the next video. Hook 'em.